Welcome to the next final chapter video where I try to read all the series and finish them that I started over the last probably 15 years. And in the last video of the series I earned to start a new series because I finished 3 other ones, and the series I will start is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick, or the Shepherd King duology, and I've already started it. I've read halfway through the book at this point, and I have to say the first 100 pages, so the first 25%, were really overwhelming with the world building and everything. There was so much going on, so much information that was dumped on the reader. Nothing really explained to 100%, so more hints and puzzle pieces and vague information to everything, so that you have 1 million questions to everything. But after that it got better and I got finally into the story, and I'm really hooked now and can't wait to read more today. I really like Elspeth, our female main character. I really like the nightmare in her head, his sarcasm and everything. I really like him. And I really like Raven so far. I like that we have a fake dating trope here, and I really hope we get a found family trope, but we will see about that. And the plot is really interesting and intrigued me. The characters intrigued me, and I know there is a lot going on in the background, and the characters have a lot of depth that we have to discover throughout the story. So I will continue now and I will update you if I finished the first book of the duology, and hopefully can tell you more. And I finished One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. It is a 3-star read for me. I'm not that much excited about the book, but I really like the story idea. I think it is not that well written. The world building is just vaguely explained, and we are visiting the exact same situation or the exact same dialogue again to then get the full explanation. That was a bit weird, but I really like the nightmare and want to see more of him in the second part of the duology, which is Two Twisted Crowns, a book that I will read in December to continue the duology and to continue my buddy reads to the duology. We discussed this book a lot. We all had a million questions throughout the story because things were not explained that well and situations were a bit weird and a bit over the top. And I just don't feel the romance and the relationship between Elspeth and Raven. I think it was not necessary for the story at all, and especially not the spicy part, because this book feels a lot like young adult, and I think the spicy parts were the only thing that this was not marketing as young adult. So you could have left it out and it would be okay. The characters felt really dumb sometimes and are acting weird in situations where I think you didn't have to do what you did in this situation, because it gave everything away and it was really suspicious what you did there. Just wait a few minutes, hours, no matter what, and do your thing then, when not everybody is looking at you. But I'm interested how the story goes on, and I will continue in December. And I already started the next book for my final chapter challenge, which is Dealing in Deception. In German it's called Over the Moon by Samantha Joyce. The second part of a duology, but both parts have different main characters. I really loved the first part when I read it a few years ago, but this book was definitely not for me. I read 2 chapters yesterday, and it was 1 chapter from her POV and 1 chapter from his POV, and I don't like them much and didn't vibe with the characters, so I decided to DNF this book at this point. I was 10% into the story and haven't felt it. The female main character judged people so hard in her chapter that I found it really annoying and didn't like her at all. And the male main character was mocking the whole time in his chapter about his life, and I didn't vibe with it, and with that I've now DNF'd it and finished with that another series, which is quite awesome. And the next book that I will read for this challenge now is 1,000 Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole. So that is a 5-star prediction for me, and we will see how that goes. Oh boy, this book breaks my heart into 1,000 pieces because it is emotionally so heavy. I'm currently 184 pages into, and I cried not one time but many times over this book. And at the first day I read 100 pages and thought I'm totally okay with this book and to read it in a few days. But after this first day I had a really bad night, so trigger warning here for grief and death, because I go a little into detail now. The night after I've read the first 100 pages, I had some nightmares and dreamed a lot about my aunt that died 20 years ago in a car accident. And on this day that I've read this, I also saw an episode of The Punisher where someone faked his death. So I also had to deal with that in my dream, and dreamed about that my aunt faked her death and had now a new family and things like that. And I cried a lot in these dreams. I felt so much pain because of grief and her death in these dreams that at the time that I woke up, I started crying immediately and couldn't stop for nearly an hour. That was the time I realized I can only read this book in little pieces to don't fall back into this, because this is so heavy and wakes so much emotions in me, because I really know how these characters feel, and that it is not easy if you lose a loved one. Even now, 20 years later, I have to deal with this. Most of the time I'm okay with it, but there are some days that it is difficult for me to live with this grief, and yeah, that was one of these days. And the persons in this book feel like this all the time, They don't find a way out of their grief, even years after the death of a loved one. And I could totally relate with these feelings, which makes this book so heavy for me. But I really, really love this. And it is a 5-star prediction for me. So still, even with all these feelings that I have during reading, I really want to continue reading. But as I said, in little pieces, so chapter by chapter and with breaks in between. And I used these breaks to start 2 other books. The first one is Mancarved by Sarina Bowen and Tonya Eby. It is the last book in a series, so I want to finish the series. I read the first 3 books years before and yeah, wanted to finish the series now, so I started Mancarved, and it is the perfect companion book to A Thousand Broken Pieces because it is a super funny, light-hearted rom-com and it makes me smile a lot, which is what I totally need at the moment. Our female main character is an actress and a waitress because her career is not that good and she loses the big roles every time to other actresses. And in the first chapters there is a party for a woman that gets married soon and they invited some strippers, and the moment our male main character gets in the restaurant in his police uniform, she thinks he is one of the strippers and she starts to undress him for his show, but he is not a stripper, he's a real policeman. And month after this, she's moving and he is now her new neighbor, and that's how the story starts. And there is so much banter and flirting between the characters. I'm really enjoying this. And we get into some fake dating situations, so I can't wait to read more in the next days. And I also started Lover Unbound, the 5th book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. This is the first half of Witch's story and I already read that and want to read the second half soon. But what I can say after the first half, this is also emotionally heavy because a lot of heartbreak, not only from Vicious but also from another character. And Vicious is our most kinky character, so we get a lot of spicy and smutty scenes. Are they necessary? Not really at this point, but I really can say that I love our female main character Jane in this story. She is such a strong, badass woman and has such a strong mind. I totally appreciate that and I really love her. And I can't wait to read the second half. I finished all the books I wanted to finish for this vlog. So let's wrap up this vlog. The first one was Mancarved by Sarina Bowen and Tonya Eby. It was a cute little rom-com, just 250 pages, and I really loved it. It was the perfect companion book to A Thousand Broken Pieces, and I really loved both of the characters and the plot of the book. It was totally lighthearted, it was entertaining, and it made me smile so much. I really enjoyed reading this, even if the third act breakup was totally not necessary. and just there for the plot. I think the characters were at a point where they could be over that and could just work on their relationship, but okay, we had the third act breakup and the happy end after that, and I can totally live with that. And I'm very, very happy that I have read this whole series, the 4 books, and that I have finished now the Boy Toy series by these both authors. And I have also finished 1,000 Broken Pieces by Tilly Cole. This was the total opposite. It was very heavy, super emotional, and almost every single chapter made me tear up. So I needed to take my time with it and make breaks after every single chapter. In between one chapter there were a lot of breaks because it's so emotional and it made me so emotional. But for me it is a total 5-star read, a lifetime highlight, because it deals so perfect with grief and is such a great representation of grief and what happens with you when you have to deal with the death of a loved one. And yes, 470 pages of that, and you have to deal with it on every single page. So definitely not a book that I would recommend to everyone, because it is so heavy and not everyone can handle that. So please be aware of that if you want to read it and take your time with it. But I really appreciated this book and really loved it. And it also helped me in my own grief now 20 years later, and see some things a little bit different and in a more positive context. So that was also an aspect of the book. It's not only about grief and the heavy part, it's also about hope and the perspective to see everything in a much more positive way. And I think Tilly Cole nailed this, and you can see on every single page that she had to deal a lot with these topics, like in 1,000 Boy Kisses. So I really appreciate these books. I love them. 1,000 Broken Pieces and 1,000 Boy Kisses, which is set before 1,000 Broken Pieces. And this book will always have a place in my heart, and I think I will never forget it, because it is now a piece of me. And that means we have finished another series, duology, and that means we have now finished 3 series, which means I can now start another series. And I have already done that, which you know if you have seen my 24 hours reading vlog. I have started Quicksilver, the first book in the Fae and Alchemy series by Kelly Hart. And I have already finished this book, and I am now up to date on this series, so finished for now. So this is another series finished. And I already started another series. So I have to finish 2 more series to earn the series I already started. So we are going now on my phone through my series tracker list that I have, and look for series I want to DNF, because I know there are some series on this list. And the first one is the Colorado Ice series. I read the first one and I liked it, but I have no interest in continue the series at this point, so I will DNF it. And the next series is... Where is the series? There is the Atlas 6. I enjoyed the characters in the first book, but I don't know if I got the whole story and plot because it was so theoretical and heavy and academic, and I won't continue the series. And that means I have now earned my series because I have DNF'd 2 other series. And the series I earned is the Thoughtless series by S.E. Stevens. A big project for me, probably, or not, we will see. I will make a video to the whole series and my reading experience with it. If I read the whole series, if I DNF at some point, we will see. But you will get a vlog to it. And before I will end this video, I can also say that I have finished Lover Unbound Part 2. So I finished Vicious and Jane's story, and I remembered the ending from my first read of the series. So I wasn't surprised by it, but I was really surprised when I read it the first time. Not only by what happened to Jane, but also by some new character that was introduced here. And I can say I really love this story. It is a bit different to the other stories, and the characters are much more honest, so not much miscommunication, which I really appreciate because I hate miscommunication. And I really love John's part of the story, because we not only have Jane and Vicious in the story, we have also other parts of the main plot that are continuing, and I really love John and can't wait to read his story and some other stories that are coming in the series. The next book is now Fairy Story. I don't know the title in this moment, but I will continue that now in December. And now I gave you all my updates for this vlog. I finished all the books I wanted. I DNF'd some series, and we will see how my journey goes on in the next final chapter vlog. So if you have read one of the books I have mentioned here, please tell me in the comments how did you like it, and if you want, like the video, follow my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye!